you doing? Welcome to another episode of Lost Like Mike. I'm your host. I didn't even say that last time. I am your host, Mike Gonzalez. Welcome to episode 30. I expected to do this many episodes. I expected to keep doing it no matter what, but it always surprises me when we hit another 10 or, that I'm still doing it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for subscribing, for commenting, and especially the emails at lostlikemike at gmail.com. I really appreciate those reaching out and talking to me about the episodes and stuff. It's funny. I mentioned on a previous episode that my mom listens now, which is great. I think she's hearing a side of me that she sends me a lot of messages about the episodes, questions and things like. I guess that she didn't know, but hi, Mom, by the way. But she said, always wear a different shirt because I don't know which episodes I haven't seen yet. And if I don't recognize the shirt, that's how I know. And I'm like, 30 episodes in, I've already worn, that's all the stuff I have. Like, maybe I'll have to wear like, a bandana or a ball cap or something. I don't know. But yeah. So she encouraged me to, not that me saying episode 30 versus episode 1 is, going to matter, but anyway, thank you for joining. And lately we've just sort of been telling stories and thinking of things off whatever's going on. Nothing really planned, as always. Pretty proud of myself. I went back to the gym. So I have a home gym, right? I mean, it's pseudo quotations with the fingers, like weight bench and a punching bag, things like that, pull-up bar here at the house. But I am set up in the backyard on the patio, so it's very rocky for when it's cold out, and I'm trying to be motivated and to do a thing. So I decided to go back to the gym. I was reluctant, but the place that I work at pays for it. I guess they don't want any fatties. No, I'm just kidding. They just want to encourage healthy living. So, but I was doing my normal thing. I had some downtime, so I was doing the quintessential lazy thing. I was sitting on the couch playing a video game and relaxing, I guess. But I had the intention of going back to the gym, and I had signed up for the gym and all this kind of stuff. I just breaking into that first time is what it is, really. It's the hardest is to go. If you could set up a pattern, then you're in business. But anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm just playing this game, and the thought occurred to me that I could go to the gym if I had time. So it was kind of one of those called out on your own BS kind of things where there's nothing to stop you short of your excuses. So are you going to go or what? So I went. It was cool. It was a new gym. I have never been there. Not plugging the different gyms or whatever, but I apologize ahead of time. The family's home. As you know, sometimes everybody wants to chime in. The dog just said hi. So I apologize for that. But yeah. I tell you, my daughter is all me, 100%. Her voice carries and is loud, just like me. Today we were driving to church, and she got the giggles, and it was straight out of my childhood. Because when I was little, I would start laughing, and I wouldn't know why, but I couldn't stop laughing, and it was infectious. Like my brother would start laughing, and then we would both just fall over because we couldn't stop laughing. Like we would hurt our stomachs, and we would just. And when I would hear him laughing, it would make me laugh more. And today we're driving, and she just starts laughing about something, and it's just got a great laugh, and I start laughing, and then she starts laughing harder, and it just took me right back. But forgive that, because I can hear her through walls and through soundproofing, just, speaking in her inside voice, and still you can hear her. Anyway, back to what we were saying. So I was sitting on the couch, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go. And I went to, oh my God, Willow. I'm going to put some Benadryl in her dog food, and she'll sleep through the episode. I don't know, I'm sure you can hear the dog barking if you're listening to the audio one. But I have a small window of time that I get to record this episode, so I have to plow ahead. So I'll have to remember the Benadryl trick later, next week. Just kidding, I would never do that. So I show up to this new gym, and I beeped in boop, boop, off the app and everything, and I started looking around like, I don't know where anything is. I don't know what's what. And the lady's like, you're good, you can go on in. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I know that I'm out of shape, because usually it was the next day where I'd start to feel sore. But after I went to the gym, and I did some, cursory, like, sort of where are you at sort of moves, like I treadmilled it up. I did some cardio, a little bit of weights, whatever. And about an hour and 15. Then some, I go out to my show, and on the drive home, I'm like, man, just beat up. Like my body was like completely like done with me. So anyway, today, I'll probably, go back tomorrow. I usually want to get that next, some hair of the dog that bit you, if that makes it, if you've heard that one before. But, because I feel it, you kind of just want to push through it. I had seen it on a TV show that I was watching anyway. But you see it enough times in your life that if you're sore, if you're hurting, it's best to try to kind of do something physical to break you out of it. It's funny, because this is a dumb story, but the other night I was on stage, and I've got this heavy duty new tambourine that I got for Christmas. I bought it off online. Well, I pointed it out online to my wife. I said, I would really like this one. Anyway, so I've been rocking this really lightweight one for the longest time on my acoustic shows. And when I got this heavy duty one, I was like, man, I couldn't even shake it. I couldn't even move it, like doing where you do doubles and things using your wrist to sort of flick it and change the rhythm of the tambourine. So stupid. I don't know why tambourine has a bad reputation or has like this silly reputation, like it's like a silly percussive instrument. It's really a cool instrument. But I feel like a dork talking about how I practice with my tambourine. Which I'll tell a story about that in a second. But I mean, anyway, long story short. So that first show when I had this brand new tambourine, I only made it like one song, and I was like, dude, I can't. And I switched back to the other one. I said, I might have to send this back. Tell him, talking to Vince, my partner. And he's like, well, just play whatever you can on the one and then switch to the other one. It's all good. But now, like maybe 10 shows later, I'm using the new heavy tambourine, and I can do everything that I used to do on the other one, right? But I flashed back, and I remember now, when I first started playing tambourine, we had decided we were just two guys with guitars, and he would do these looping pedal things where sometimes he would do a percussive, where he would tap on the side of the guitar or mute the strings and make a percussive sound, and he would loop that and make a little bit of a beat. But he was having trouble with his input jack, so he was like, it just brought to mind the question of needing some sort of rhythm, and lugging around bongos or like what are those big boxes where you sit on them and play it like anyway, it's a Spanish instrument. I wanted to call it an empanada, but that's that's like a pastry. So it was something where anyway, what are you doing with the foot? That's the bass. You remember that from that. So, okay. So I started playing tambourine, and I would get these horrible pains in my arm, my forearm, and where it would cramp up from, playing 4 hours, because you're playing for 4 hours. I don't want to make it sound like this, like what it was. He's playing a tambourine and he can't keep a rhythm for, a couple songs. This was literally like 4 sets of at least 45 minutes of playing, and we'd probably use the tambourine for maybe 2 or 3 sets at least. So but I remember it being like where I'd be like, man, can we do a song that's 2 guitars, man, because it's just killing me. And I guess just like with anything, you build up a tolerance and you build up strength in those twitch muscles and stuff that work that instrument. The reason I bring it up is because I was playing a show, and this guy in the audience, since I have these 2 tambourines, the one that I'm using and this one that I had been using, I thought it'd be funny to say, hey man, you play tambourine, and because you do that every now and then, right? It's somebody's birthday. We're going to bring up whatever the person's name, and they're going to play tambourine. And it used to be just follow my hands, I'll clap, and you stay in time. And, the wide variety of people out there in this world, you take for granted that everybody has like a semblance of rhythm. And if they don't have rhythm, they at least can match a hand coming together and clapping. But people can't. A lot of people will hold the tambourine and be off time. It's the most interesting phenomenon. But anyway, this guy in particular, recently, I decided to have him play tambourine, but I was going to try this new way. Since I have my new tambourine, I just told the guy, just match what I'm doing. So then just do that, and we'll work together, right? And we played through a song, and at the end of the night, he comes up to me and says, man, this was so difficult. Like he says, my arm hurts from just jamming with you all night. And I said, well, check this one out. And I handed him the other one, and I swear, and this was a big burly dude. And I handed him the one I use now, and he's like, geez, how can you, this is so heavy. And I'm like, well, man, dad strength, I don't know. No, but he just thought it was the craziest thing that I could, even move this tambourine. It reminds me of the story. We were playing this one place, and this guy in the audience, I knew him and I didn't like him. He's just not a good dude. And I was thinking about him, and I got distracted. And so we started a song, and I was holding the tambourine, and the song had this sort of salsa sort of beat to it. So it's right. You'd shake it with your hand. And I did the first one, the first move, and the tambourine just whoop flies out of my hand and falls on the ground. And like I didn't know what to do with my hands because they were in the motions of doing this tambourine move. And I was just so mortified and frustrated all at the same time. I just kept moving my hand like it was holding a tambourine. And before while I had to sing the line and dip down and grab it off the floor. Ooh, I wanted to beat myself up like Ed Norton in Fight Club on that one, man. I was so angry at myself for doing that. But anyway, I digress on that one. That was my tambourine stories. Although I did have a friend of mine come to see me play a show once. And she was out in the audience with her I guess her boyfriend or somebody. And I was feeling myself as far as my voice was on. I was sometimes people come and see you perform a show and you're like, please don't let me be like a bad night vocally. Please don't let me, right? But I felt particularly on. I do play some guitar solos on occasion, and I thought, all right, I did okay on that, whatever. And so at the end of the show, hey, thank you for coming out. It's cool. And her only comment was, wow, I didn't know you could play the tambourine. And I was so, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, tambourine's like, I really can play the tambourine. It's I love the tambourine. I need to get all that other junk too, but, and I can't tell you, if I had a nickel for every time somebody said more cowbell when they see me play tambourine. It's not a cowbell. It doesn't even look like a cowbell. All right, more cowbell. Which I think insults themselves more than anything else, because it's such a weird thing to say to somebody. Anyway. But I understood what she was saying, because there's certain songs that are very theatrical with the tambourine, because over the years Vince and I have been playing these songs, and I'll do these different things that I enjoy doing that sound cool in my head, but it's very acrobatic, like it's very like theatrical in terms of like, it's not just a straight beat on a tambourine, but but it is still just the tambourine, but nothing fancy about it. But when you sing your heart out for 4 hours and you play your butt off, that's the last thing you think somebody's going to recognize is your tambourine playing. But it was good. I decided I spoke one time, I think, about the importance of your squad being on the same page when it comes to dieting and exercise. maybe a couple weeks ago, my wife comes in and says, you know what? I'd like to exercise and eat right. And I mean, I couldn't be happier. Like, just because I'm sure I've talked about that on several occasions of just the difficult of having that self-discipline when somebody comes in and is like, you feeling wings tonight? And it's like, no, but yes, let's go. You know. So it's and the funny thing is she went hardcore for the first couple weeks, and I kind of was just sort of wishy-washy about it, kind of. And she wasn't seeing results right out the gate, right? She was feeling like it was not happening fast enough. But I just said, hold tight, hang on. It's once it starts, it's gonna go in waves and whatever, right? But meanwhile, the little things that I was doing caused me to lose a few pounds. So I felt like I was on the right way, and maybe it made me not commit hard enough to really going hardcore because, I think, I can't say exactly when we started this, but we'll say 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks. And maybe I was like at 4 or 5 pounds. And she's like, man, what's up? So I but I hit a wall real quick, and then she had her first real where she's really starting to drop the weight, And so this is as of a couple of days, like 2 days ago. She's like, yo, if you want me to just take over what you're eating and put you on the diet, I can. And I really got to get serious about it. My doctor was like, you got to do what you got to do, man. So I said, all right, let's do it. And I'm really feeling it. Day 2 of, and you realize how your little voice in your own head can get away with such things when you're not the captain anymore. When you're like, if left to my own devices, I would have already said, you know what, I'm just gonna have a snack over here. I'm gonna have this over there. This is part of my calorie. I could do that, Where she's like, no, like if you want me to be in charge, you can't have that. And I really respond to coaches, to be honest with you. Like, everybody's gonna know that their motivation. I don't care if people say, if you want real change, it's got to come from within. Yeah, that's true. But sometimes you just want the no-brainer, man, where you want somebody to say, drop and give me 20. The other night, we were sitting there watching TV, and I guess you never know what. My daughter has YouTube for kids, and apparently they have like this, like she watched a series of something where they were doing workout videos or training or something, and we're just watching TV, she and I, and hanging out, and she says, drop and give me 20, Dad. And then she's like, all right, now with one only with one hand. And I'm like, the hell you no. And I was like, I was on my knees and I was going to do a push-up that way, because and she's like, nope, get off your knees, let's go. And I was like, dang. And then there was a couple moves she was like, all right, now kick your legs behind your head. And I'm like, okay, this isn't happening. I don't know what videos you're watching on YouTube, but and then of course my wife walks by and says, your daddy's too old for that kind. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna train like Jean-Claude Van Damme and then in 2 months, I'm going to do the splits in front of y'all. I keep going back to what Clint Eastwood says. Every morning, I wake up, and the old man wants to come in. I think he said, like, I'm paraphrasing, like he knocked at the door or he came around the corner, whatever. Old man wants to come in, and he says, I don't let him in. He's 90-something. Every day, an old man comes, and I don't let the old man in. So many of the limitations that I put on myself are, or that people put on themselves are based on, stereotypes or like understandings of what we've been able to be. But there's all these advances and understandings of the human body that doesn't have to be that way. It's just a matter of laziness. Although, it's another thing I was listening to. I was listening to John Mayer. He was talking on this one documentary or whatever. And it's so, when successful people say their story, right? It's easy for it to be contrived, like, to be like, oh yeah, all you had to do was practice every day. All you had to do was, that's it. What the difference between me and everybody else was it's like, take it easy, homeboy. Like, you don't think that other people try to sit down and just, sometimes it had to do with innate talent. Sometimes it had to do with opportunities and training and education and of course, like, I was going to get into a little bit of, lately it's been a topic to talk about what I go to a church, and this particular pastor that I go see, he seems to always have something useful when he talks. And today's topic was vision, and to have a clear vision of where you want to be, where you want to go, and work towards it. And of course, with the spiritual aspects of it, of having faith and of praying over it and that kind of stuff. But in terms of the importance of having a clear destination that you want to get to and an understanding of what it takes to get there, it's so important, man. I mean, that endurance, that willingness to take the steps necessary to get to wherever this place is. And we could take the weight loss, for example. I want to lose 70 pounds, right? 70 pounds. That's my legit, that is my goal. And it doesn't matter if it's a year or 6 months, the sooner the better. But to having a clear vision of what it's going to take to get there. Cardio every day, a couple of days of maybe 2-a-days or weights or whatever. Find people that are your age that have something that you want, and what are they doing to get there, right? I mean, but I thought it was so funny, this guy, because there's so many artists, so many musicians that take the chances that he took, that devote themselves, maybe misdirected or whatever, but they devote themselves to putting in the hours of practice. And not everybody's 10,000 hours look the same, and sometimes, it takes longer to master certain skills and things. But I would never tell somebody else that, like Dave Grohl's really big on this one, like how he says, singing shows are crap, and then you should never go to these vocal contests and things. That doesn't make you, and it's like, that's so one like small perspective. Like, you're speaking on your truth, on what worked for you, but who's to say that the person that's out there trying to be in these vocal contests aren't really devoting themselves to being artists, and that's their journey. I would never crap on somebody's journey, like, because there's more than one way to get to where you want to be. And it's just, I think it's wrong to sit there and crap on somebody else's way of going about doing something. Because, not everybody was born into those opportunities. Not everybody had that line into those directions. It doesn't work like that. I don't know. And then sometimes lately I've been seeing this contrast. There was this, I see these musicians and they celebrate them, and a lot of times they do a lot of drugs, or they're very beat up and messed up, and those are the people. And I wonder sometimes how much of it is the art that they created that they're celebrating, or that they are willing to accept these people because they're flawed, and they can sort of look down on them in other ways. If that makes sense. Like, I don't know, I get that impression a lot when I see like somebody like Post Malone, and they're falling on their ass on stage, just drunk off their, drugged out of their minds or whatever, and they're just flopping around, and people are like, all right, he's a rock and roller. And it's like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of what he does that I'm a fan of. But it's like, people are okay with, and they'll boost you up, or like celebrate you, clap or whatever, if you're flawed, if you're a damaged person, that they can say, well, it's okay to like them because whatever, like, they're better than, I know the thoughts there, and I'm really trying to get to it, y'all, but I can't really articulate it. It's just this, well, if you think how many of the people that you admire are put together and all together, in a good place. I don't know. Sometimes I think, like, all of a sudden these people that are like, that died because of overdoses. I mean, some of them are really talented. Don't get me wrong. But they're trying to say the difference between, like, it's rough, because if you talk about somebody like Jimi Hendrix, right, who did a lot of innovations with sounds, like, he was able to make a guitar, he used the instrument in a different way that it had ever been used before him, right? So credit needs to be due for that. But then you take somebody like, and you have to, it's a weird way to say who's better or different, right? Like, they said he was almost as good as Jimi Hendrix when it came to, and it's like, hey, take it easy. He was a good guitar player, but his genius was what he did with the instrument and amplifiers, and with manipulating the actual instrument. I mean, he was, in my opinion, he was a really good songwriter too. But there's other people, like, if you're talking about just strictly in terms of the musicality of his agility with his fingers and stuff, that there are other guitar players that are far better. I mean, that's not sacrilegious. It's just knowing the difference. And it's not just celebrating somebody because of of who they represented visually, like, oh, he was really wild and different, man, and oh, he was really like out there, man. And no, I mean, and again, if you listen to like his playing was ahead of its time. It was genre changing. It just, but I mean, pound for pound, if you play some of these new math rock guys, these progressive, I don't know what they call them. I mean, I was listening to some of it the other day, and it's just technically out there, man, and doing these stuff that people just can't even understand the complexity of what they're doing musically. Anyway, I don't know, I'm jumping around subjects on that, but I don't know. The specific thing that I read that bothered me was they were talking about Stevie Ray Vaughan, and they were saying that blues guitar playing, he was almost as good as Hendrix. And I thought that was silliness, because, I just think that I don't know, that couldn't be such a simple statement to make. I mean, if you're saying such a specific thing as to, now if you said who had more influence on music overall, I mean, that's something different. It's just, I don't know, words are powerful, and I think that people need to choose them wisely. That's all I'm really trying to say. I mean, we're talking about, like, I was talking to this about with my cousin the other day about, I think it was Kim Kardashian saying something about her kids eating cereal was some sort of iconic thing, and I was like, okay, sure, that's iconic. Take it easy. Like, his response to me was like, they drop lines like this, like they use words in different ways now, like everything's iconic, everything's the GOAT, everything's iconic, and it's like saying things are cool or bad, or when they mean the opposite, or when they mean in other words, it's like just slang of young people slang. I'm not saying Kim Kardashian is young, but I'm saying if anybody's in his argument, if anybody's trying to tap into that sort of vibe, is another one they've stolen. Everything's a vibe. But anyway, I just think that it loses the weight of the words when they're hijacked and used for whatever people want to use them for. Like, Tom Brady's probably the greatest overall quarterback, right? That's what they're saying, statistic-wise, or however they rate these things. I couldn't care less as far as in terms of, like, getting into that argument. But everybody's a GOAT, a GOAT in the making, or GOATs, and I'm just done. There was this commercial for Cadillac, I think it was, and there was this DJ. I don't even know who this dude is, and he's like, "Oh man, I got to make a beat about this. I thought, so ridiculous. But his thing was like, I'll show you, I'll teach you what it takes to be iconic. I'm like, dude, I don't even know your name. What are you talking about? Iconic. Like, who made you the authority on being iconic? I don't know. I don't get it. I've had a lot of problems with commercials recently. Regionally, there's HEB, which is a store here in Texas. It's the biggest store, rated #1 grocery chain in Texas, okay? And I say that for listeners that happen upon this podcast from different areas. But so their name is HEB. The guy's name was like Herbert E. Butts, like they created this grocery chain back in the day. All right. So he called his grocery chain HEB. All right. That's been established. Well, so they have this commercial for them. And they introduce it by saying, next up is so-and-so in the spelling bee. And it's this young girl, and she's at the microphone. And she's like, can I have its origin? And what's the other thing she says? Oh, yeah. And can I have a definition or something like that? As I say, well, it's from Kerrville, or it was, and it's a place where you can, and this lady's like, oh, that's where you can buy tortillas. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And then she thinks a minute, and then she goes, HEB. And then they say she wins, and they get all excited. My problem is, and I know it's stupid because it's just a damn commercial, right? So who cares? But it would have started out by saying, the word you're going to spell is HEB. And then, so that's saying that this little girl was standing there going, how do you spell HEB? Can you use it in a sentence? Yes. We're going to HEB. HEB. Even if she said out loud, how do you spell that? HEB. There you go. You got it right. Good job. I just think it's insulting. And like there's this other commercial, and it starts off, and there's this family playing in a kitchen, and these little girls are playing with these toys, and she throws something, and it falls into the dog's water bowl, and the lady goes, "This is my life," and I go, "You got it so bad," and she's like, plus I have bleeding fibroids, and I'm like, wait a minute, you win. I'm sorry. Stupid. I don't even know what commercial that's for. It's for some kind of medicine for bleeding. Anyway, sometimes I just want to shut up. There's one for a Pfizer vaccine. It's for pneumonia, right? But the commercial goes, I'm going to get this Prevnar 20 vaccine. And then the next person, I am too, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. And then the next 3 or 4 people are like, if you're 40, whatever, and you're at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia, and it could be really deadly and all this kind of stuff, right? And I was like, I could picture all these old people going, pneumococcal pneumonia? What's that? Oh my God, I'm going to die. And it's sort of, and they say it like but 20 times. So I said, you know what? I'm going to look it up. And there's like 20 strands of pneumonia that are bacterial and based pneumonia, right? That you can, and they call all of them pneumococcal pneumonia. So all pneumonia, there's like a viral and a bacterial version. So they could just basically say, like this, take this, and it's like a vaccine that'll kind of protect you from the bacterial strains of pneumonia, right? But it's scarier to say pneumococcal pneumonia because most people haven't heard of that. And for some reason, that bothers me that it's fear mongering. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to. Anyway. And again, it's just like the spelling thing. It's stupid. Why do I even care? Doesn't even matter. I don't know. Everybody was in an uproar yesterday because there was a spy balloon from China that they shot down. But my thoughts on it are like, there's satellites that Google has all over the place that you can, Google map it and Google Earth it and just, what? I mean, what exactly are we spying on that we can't do otherwise, right? I remember being in class when I was going to college the second time when I got my degree. I was in a class and the kids were like, well, the younger people were sitting around having a discussion in one of our government classes. And they're like, oh, you got to be, because Big Brother's watching and, that you got to, privacy and the government can't just come in and invade our privacy. And I said, and then I said, you know what? I said, y'all don't care about your privacy. I mean, you gave it away 100 times over when you sign up for all these apps. And do you even read the fine print of I mean, if you valued your privacy, you wouldn't do that even. You give away the permission for your cameras to be turned on or for your data to be traded and sold and given away. And it's so weird. It's how they frame it. That people even acknowledge something as a problem? I mean, what do I know? But yeah, that was my first thought on that. I mean, watch these different spy movies and things. They always talk about, for whatever you see other people doing, we're doing it also. And it's all just silliness. Anyway. Pneumococcal pneumonia. That's so frustrating. The other day, I was going at work, and I was walking down the hallway, and these two friends are coming towards me. Well, I say friends, acquaintances that I know from another department. And so I push the bathroom door open, and I walk in, and then I guess the guy at the urinal to the right of me, or the person at the sink, just toots really loud. So I push the door open. I walk. These two people are coming towards me, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And then I push the door to the restroom open, and I walk in, and as the door is closing behind me, it's like this, and I stop. I do, really? And the door closes. And so, in my paranoia, I'm thinking that these people that are walking towards me, they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" They think that I'm the only person that exists in that restroom. And as the door is closing behind me, "Hey, how you doing?" And so, that's not fair, right? It's not like I can go up to them and say, "Hey, you remember when you heard that wasn't me." You can't do that. And there's some people that don't care about that kind of thing, but that's kind of, it bugs me a little bit. I don't know why. It's silliness. Anyway, time's kind of pushing against me today. I have to get out to my show and things. But I appreciate y'all hanging out with me this week. I will really commit to getting a guest or two on here pretty soon. This always has been a vehicle for me to get things out of my chest, to get things out of my head, to talk about things that are bugging me or that are making me happy or impacting my life, and in the pursuit of trying to relate and connect to the world around me, and not just sort of floating off into space, as it were. So thank you for sharing that opportunity with me, and for giving me that opportunity. Be sure to comment and to feel free to send me a message on lostlikemike@gmail.com. And I'll talk about the things that are brought up, and share what my thoughts and feelings on whatever those subjects are. So again, thank you.